Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my next review for Hunter x Hunter. Sorry it's so dark in here as well, it's pretty overcast outside. But let's get into this and talk about the Heaven's Arena arc of Hunter x Hunter, the third arc of the series, and honestly, my favorite as of this point. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, part of the reason for that is because I am not finished with the arc after this yet. That's actually where I'm currently at. So, by the way, this will be the last review for the time being until I get finished with the next arc, which I'm watching alongside Rough Senpai's reactions on his Patreon. So, yeah, I don't know exactly when that'll end. So, but yeah, so far, this, as of the arcs I've completed, this is my favorite. So let's talk about the Heaven's Arena arc. So after getting Killua back in the last arc, oh, and by the way, there will be spoilers, just obviously. just saying that right now. So after getting Killua back in the last arc, the team decides to split up. Leorio goes off to do his studying for medical school. Karapika heads out to do his own thing, and Gon and Killua head out themselves as they agree to meet back in York New City on September 1st. They're going off to just kind of split up and do their own things for the time being. Um, and they all handle this in different ways. We mostly follow at first, at least, um, Gon and Killua. So Gon and Killua decide to go to the Heaven's Arena. Heaven's Arena is this giant tower. It's basically just a fighting tournament inside a giant tower. It's constantly going. There's like no breaks. It just constantly goes all year round. And it's a really interesting concept too, because it's like you go in, you can win all this prize money, and as you fight, you actually get to stay in these apartments in the tower. Um, Once you reach a certain point, at least, you get to stay at these apartments in the tower, get to just hang around and everything, and schedule your fights and all. So Gon and Kilo go there and start to go through. They start winning their prize money, and they're doing this to get stronger because Hisoka plans to meet them at York New City as well. Like that's where all of that's going to reconvene, and Gon wants to get stronger in order to return the badge from the Hunter exam to Hisoka, which was only agreed upon if he can hit Hisoka. So they're trying to get stronger in order for Gon to be able to do that, because he won't accept himself as a full hunter until he does. So they start going through the fights, and at first it seems fairly simple, but eventually they start getting high enough to where they start facing stronger opponents, and they start realizing that things are going to start changing. I'm saying start a lot. But they also soon realize that something more is up once they meet a character named Zushi. Zushi is this very formal, very respectable young kid who's this martial artist in training. We also meet his master, Master Wing. Um, Zushi ends up fighting Killua, and although Killua wins in their match, it's by a technical knockout. He wins by points rather than actually knocking Zushi out. Zushi is using some kind of ability that concerns Killua, and so he wants to find out more about it, to figure out what the hell is going on here. They eventually find out it's a technique called Nen. It's this power utilizing your body's natural aura that you can utilize in a multitude of different ways. So once they start getting kind of the gist of it, the basics, but once they reach the 200s, which is when the floors of the tower start getting much harder, they realize they can't pass anymore. They can't continue on, and hell, Hisoka won't let them unless they get stronger and learn Nen. So they start training with Wing and start learning all the basics of Nen, but also getting more into the specifics. They eventually manage to master enough of it to be able to continue on into the 200s. But the fights start getting stronger here, and although they don't have too much trouble, things end up getting more interesting nonetheless, with a lot of specific characters introduced and a lot of exciting fights. We get to see Hisoka in action a couple times. He does have his fight with Gon, and Gon does give him the punch. Gon actually does pretty damn well, and even though Hisoka does win in the end, it was still a really good fight. But Hisoka, let's be honest, he wasn't using his full potential. um, but yeah, the main point of this arc is not the tournament aspect of it itself, but Gon and Killua getting stronger and the introduction of Nen. Nen is the very big point of this arc. It's clearly going to be a major thing going forward, and it's going to be interesting to see how they implement it. See, Nen is this power again. Once again, it is connected to your life aura through controlling it and, in a way, utilizing it to fight. It can be used defensively, offensively, healing, all this kind of stuff. And there's different types of Nen users too. Everyone is born with a different kind of capability, and they can train all the different styles of Nen as well. You can be a manipulator, you can be an enhancer, and just all these different styles. A conjurer, and it kind of shapes what kind of Nen you use. It kind of shapes like the specific abilities you can train up to use your Nen for. Um, so it's really interesting. Like a manipulator can, well, obviously manipulate things, such as moving tops around or whatnot. An enhancer can make things stronger or better or whatever else, and they enhance things, and so on and so forth. Um, it's really it's really interesting. I definitely am not the right person to go into all the specifics and details and intricacies that were introduced in this arc of Nen. Um, but it's definitely a driving force behind the series going forward. It's kind of like in One Piece, where once they introduce hockey, it's a major part of the series from that point forward. It's just, it becomes an aspect of the series that just is there from then on and is important, and everyone kind of starts to use it and everything, all the characters you meet. It's kind of the same thing here. But it's with Nen, instead of like hockey having three specific like utilizations, in a way, three specific forms of hockey, there is more diversity and more intricacies with Nen. I will say that. There's much more that can be done with it, just generally speaking. Um, Another big thing that this arc did was kind of resolve some previous story points. Not only with the part with Gon finally landing a punch on Hisoka and giving the badge back, but on top of that, this also kind of got to the story point that was brought up at the end of the Hunter exam. At the end of the Hunter exam, Sato's kind of almost let slip that the real Hunter exam hadn't even finished. Well, that's what we find out about here. That actually learning Nen is the final part, and that Wing, Zushi's master, was actually a officially uh, like sent out trainer who was like there to train Gon in Nen so that he would become like a full-fledged hunter and pass the final secret part of the test. Um So there's that as well. Um, but yeah, it also brings up some other things from the past to go into the future. We find out more about Hisoka after his match with not Gon. It's this other guy. Yeah, he's fighting this other guy who's this really strong fighter in the arena. And during the match, he ends up letting the guy cut off both of his arms. And during the match, he ends up seemingly reattaching one of them, which we end up finding out is actually part of his Nen abilities. Um, and he just uses this to his advantage. But afterwards, he meets this girl who actually reattaches his arms and uses her Nen as like kind of this medical purpose. She calls it Nen stitches, but she can probably do other things than just stitching things back together. But she not only stitches like the arms just on, she stitches everything together, even the bones, and it's wild. But we also find out from this that Hisoka is a member of the Phantom Troop, the group of thieves and killers that killed the Kurta clan that Karapika is a member of. And this girl with the Nen stitches is a member as well. That's how we find out about it. But we also kind of find out that Hisoka is a fake member. That he's a real member, but he's kind of pretending to be loyal to them. He's infiltrating them in a way. And we'll get more on that later on. But yeah, we find out this information. It kind of sets things up really well for the future. And it makes sense, honestly. Like, with the buildup we've had for the Phantom Troop, finding out that Hisoka is a member, like, honestly, I saw it coming. That is something that, like, I just completely saw coming. Um, Especially with a name like the Phantom Troop, just a name like that, you kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but when I heard troop, I thought of circus for some reason, or something like that. So I kind of expected, because of Hisoka being kind of like a magician and everything, almost clown-like in his appearance. I kind of just like, he just seems like he would be a character in a group called the Phantom Troop. So it just kind of made sense to me. So I completely saw that coming. I mentioned Wing and Zushi. They're fantastic, fun characters. I really enjoy both of them. Zushi is just precious. He is a precious being who needs to be. Well, no, he doesn't need to be protected. He needs to be trained up and be able to protect himself. He's already very good, but he definitely still has room to improve on both his Nen and just general fighting ability. But he's still a precious being, and he's awesome, and we love him. He's just so adorable and just so just precious. There's no other way to put it. Um, I just really enjoy him. You get to see some other characters, some other fighters in the arena who are interesting, but altogether don't really add too much. Most of them. And like I said, this arc is mainly just a training arc. It's mainly just to build up things. And even after Hisoka and Gon have their fight, that's pretty much the end of the arc, because it's like that was kind of the entire reason for it in the first place. Gon wanted to get stronger to be able to give back the badge, to be able to hit Hisoka and give back the badge. He did it. So why do they need to be there any longer? Plus, again, in terms of like the writing of the arc, the big thing was definitely teaching us about Nen. Um, it wasn't too long of an arc either. It felt like it was the right length to get everything across that it needed to. And it's definitely leading into bigger things later on, and arcs that are definitely going to be much longer. Um, Overall, I really like it. I love the introduction of Nen. I thought it was handled very well. I like the different types that it got to be explained and all the different intricacies of it. Um, just the concept of how it's used and everything, and getting to see some of those usages in action, such as the one guy cloning himself, which is like wild. or getting to see Hisoka's bungee gum, which is also just wild, or the Nen stitches. It's like just everything is wild, everything is insane, and in the best way. But Nen definitely adds a layer of depth with with the combat and just the abilities of these characters that we had not had up to this point. Like we find out that Killua's brother Yalumi has Nen. We find out that Hisoka's always had Nen, and all of this kind of everything's kind of starting to connect with that. It's like you're starting to see like, oh, this Nen might have been there all along, or at least hints of it. And it's like, this is interesting. Where is this going to go? How is this going to be utilized in the future? What kinds of Nen and Nen abilities are we going to see? And I'm really excited for what the future has in store for us on that regard. Um, the combat itself in the arena in the fights was good. It was kind of what you would expect from this series at this point. There were some really interesting again utilizations of Nen in them. The one guy who used the tops. There's one guy who had a wheelchair and everything, which was really interesting. Um, and it's kind of implied that those two, along with their other friend, all of them seem to have like these injuries or something. Like the tops guy has like a single prosthetic leg that he hops around on with help using a cane. Um, the other guy who I didn't mention, his face almost kind of looks like a porcelain doll or something. It looks kind of like it's been melted or something. Um, and then the wheelchair guy. I mean, he's in a wheelchair. He does not have use of his legs. He's basically paralyzed from the waist down. And it's like it's kind of implied that they were victims of other Nen users, that they were victims in this very arena. And it's wild to think about. Like Nen can fuck people up. So it's like it's going to be really interesting to see like that kind of shit in action. Honestly, just being completely honest here. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this arc. It was just it had a lot of great moments, a lot of great action. Again, the introduction of Nen, phenomenally done. Um, I really like the new characters that were introduced, how everything kind of connected to the past, and how it all started kind of making a little more sense, and the kind of setup it does for the future as well. This arc was just really fun to watch. It was really exciting. I enjoyed a lot of the interactions between certain characters, and honestly, it was just fun. It was really fun. So tell me in the comments below what you thought of the Heaven's Arena arc of Hunter x Hunter. Specifically, once again, got to reiterate, excuse me, I am talking about the 2011 Hunter x Hunter series, not the 99 version. Um, although that should be apparent by the thumbnail, but just want to clarify. I am talking about the 2011 one. So tell me your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, we probably won't get to the next one anytime right soon because I have to. I want to. I haven't even finished the next arc yet. I'm still watching it along with Rough Senpai's reactions. So once I do finish that, though, I'll get up the review, and then we'll kind of just go from there. As whenever I finish the next arc after that. So once again, thank you so much. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.